Hey guys, so I'm going to continue with another vinyl video here, and we're moving on to the letter M. And the artist we have is the mighty Morbid Angel. I actually got the opportunity to hang out with Morbid Angel because they came with Pantera and Slayer, and Static X and some other bands to my hometown for Pantera's last tour before they split up, just before 9/11 happened. And I didn't have any money to buy um, tickets, so I just went down with my ex-girlfriend to the venue, the stadium, and they were the opening band on the bill. I don't know why they were opening because like they're amazing, and they had a lot of albums out. Probably just because of how underground they were. But so they played about a 30-minute set, and they were so underground that they had their tour bus up parked across the street from the stadium, not even down in the underground parking where Slayer and Pantera's buses were. So I went with my girlfriend to meet them. We went over to the bus, and we encountered Pete Sandoval, the drummer, and he gave me a Heineken and a drumstick, and he gave my girlfriend a can of Coke, and we hung out and talked to him and waited for the rest of the band to come out from the stadium. And I got a guitar pick from Trey, whose real name is George Emmanuel, and I talked with Eric Rutan about Hate Eternal and the tour, and yeah, I met Jared, their bass player from Hate Eternal that passed away because for that tour he was filling in for Steve Tucker, who had to go home because of family issues. Anyways, this was the first album, the one that I showed you first. It's Altars of Madness. It was released in 1989 with their original vocalist, David Vincent. This came with the insert. Altars of Madness is technically their second album because they made Abominations of Desolation with their original vocalist and drummer Mike Browning. And that was... I've never heard that album though. Next up we have Blessed Are the Sick. An awesome album. These are all on plain black vinyl, so I'm not gonna pull out the actual records. Good shot of the band. I can't remember if this one came with an insert or not. Oh, it did, yes. So I'll show you this. Came with a little bit of artwork. And the lyrics and album credits, of course. Blessed Are the Sick came out in 1991, I believe. Looking for the date. Yes, 1991. Next up, we have my favorite Morbid Angel album, and that is Covenant. This is the album that introduced me to the band as well. I had a cassette of this. I got it from a local music shop when I was still getting cassettes, although I have no use for them because it pisses me off that you had to like rewind them and worry about them getting munched in tape decks and stuff, and the recording quality would deteriorate, and so I have no patience for that. But I love me vinyl. Here's the sleeve, the artwork, and lyrics. Covenant came out in 1993. I don't even have to check, I just know. Next album I have is my second favorite, and that is Domination. This pressing didn't come with any inserts or anything, so what you see is what you get here, plain black vinyl. Domination came out in 1995, and it was the last album to feature original vocalist David Vincent. They then returned with new vocalist bassist Steve Tucker to record probably my favorite album with him as the vocalist, Formulas Fatal to the Flesh. This album is amazing. would have been interesting to hear David Vincent on here, because it's a very heavy album. Domination was heavy, but it was kind of backing off and approaching a more mainstream version of the band, sound-wise. That's why David Vincent was fired from the band, because his vocals on Domination weren't as heavy, and the production was bad, and Trey just wasn't happy with it and his conduct during the touring cycle, and so he fired him. They stayed sort of friends, though, because he came back into the band. Anyway, the next album is also an amazing album, Gateways to Annihilation. I mean, everything they've done is pretty awesome, but here's the insert that came with this. And this was the album they were touring for when they came with Pantera and Slayer. It came out in 2000. Wow, 23 years ago. That's crazy. I feel old, guys. Next up was Heretic. This album came out in 2003, and it was the last to feature Steve Tucker, because David Vincent reunited with the band. For several years they played festivals and shows all over the place playing the old material, and then they recorded their next album, and there was tons of hype for it. Everybody was super stoked to hear new music with David Vincent in the band, but this is the album that was created, and unfortunately there are half of this album is like no good. It's like experimental, like industrial stuff, which is definitely not what a death metal crowd wanted to hear. And because of that, David Vincent's return to the band was over after this album came out. He was fired. This album got like tons of hate all over the internet and all over the world. All the fans of the band basically like hated it. Now, to be honest with you, there are 6 or 7 death metal songs on here, and they're good. They're not amazing, but like they're better, I think, than the stuff that was on Heretic when Steve Tucker left the band. Honestly, I think they should have toughed it out and kept David Vincent in the band and just said, look, no more experimentation crap. Let's just do what we're good at, and that's death metal. Anyways, he was fired from the band, and Steve Tucker returned for the next album. This was Ilio Divinum Insanus, and it came out in 2011. And I'm sure if you look up like reviews for the album, there's still hate all over the internet for it. People didn't really have too much good to say about it. But I'm saying, like, the death metal half of the album, the larger half sucks with the industrial and experimental crap, but the death metal songs that are on there are decent. Otherwise, I wouldn't have the album in my collection. So this is their newest album. They're about due to make a new album, actually. This came out in 2017. And this was Return to Form. Steve Tucker came back to the band, and it's good. Like, it's all the songs are like ripping fast death metal. There's no filler instrumental tracks. It's just it's good. Now, there aren't that many solos, which is kind of weird because I'm used to hearing Trey flying all over his fretboard with guitar solos. He's a guitar virtuoso. I love his lead work, and it was kind of buried on this album, to be honest. But there is some there. And there you see Steve Tucker. He's recently shaved his head. That was interesting. The entire time I've known him for his career, he's had long hair like that, and he shaved his head. But he looks good. Anyway, guys, that's my Morbid Angel collection. An absolutely essential band if you're into death metal. Cheers. Have a good one.